And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio, promoting our schools, securing our future. Again, we'll be back in action. We'll be at Valley View High School tomorrow. Looking forward to being at Valley View. It's been a while. I'm trying to think if it's one of the few schools that we haven't been to, but we are pumped up to go to Valley View. And then later on in the week, we'll be at Eagle High School and then finishing up with Bishop Kelly. Big ups to CapEd Credit Union and Team Mazda Subaru for allowing us once again for our 17th season. I really have to figure out. Maybe I can have the kids help me count how many seasons we've been doing this. But approaching very soon our 20th season of Promote Our Schools, Secure Our Future. Let's go to cybersecurity expert Michael Doherty. He knows all the numbers. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Not bad. First of all, I think we have to give big props to all the people that are working for, whether it's the post office, whether it's FedEx, whether it's UPS, any delivery service, because they're working on Sundays. It's go time for them. In the old days, Michael, back when you were a kid and, when I was driving the horse and buggy, the malls were the big deal. But I think the delivery services are the people that are on fire now.
Oh, man, you've got that right. It's now that I'm 58, so I really remember that. And heck, we go hang out there. Now who even steps foot? Now I've got boxes showing up after Black Friday, and I forget what I ordered.
It shows you the crazy world we live in. So let's jump right into it when we're taking a look just at how cyber has taken over our lives. Do you really believe that the Silicon Valley folks can be reined in at all? I mean, they've got the big money, they've got everything else, but in the end, when you fight the government, usually the government wins.
Well, okay, well, I wish I had an hour for that very good question. But look, the tech giants and the internet now, here's what's new about we've never been in before, is that there are really no borders. So you have a company like Google, really, they're not just a company. They're in a lot of our enemy camps. And our enemy camps make them, play by their rules as well. And two main things is to help them and inadvertently violate civil rights. And they also have to share with them information. And that sometimes can be dangerous to our security, information security and privacy security, as well as our commerce security, because one thing about the United States is that we are a big machine for all this technology and software creation, especially software application stuff. So it's the government being, quite frankly, asleep at the wheel on a lot of this stuff, because we have politicians who are, everything's a political motivation, not really I know some of us might actually think, especially if you're in California, that the people in Congress actually are, trying to save people, but usually there's a political angle and everything. And they don't know how to leverage technology. So since they don't know how to leverage technology, they kind of let it sit there, and they don't really get our cybersecurity handled the right way. So it's kind of a big mess.
Indeed, like the Mueller investigation, you've got Mueller going after Dr. Corsi. You got him going after Roger Stone, George Stephanopoulos on This Week, actually reading Roger Stone's emails back and forth as if it were, an episode of the National Enquirer.
Well, it's gun to the head, justice. It's kind of terrifying when you are basically having a trial on via the national media when you haven't been charged with anything based on emails and information that's quote unquote leaked. I mean, that's taking the power of the government and exploiting it at such a level. And it's all boils down to if the American public wants to put up with it or not. It's not even cybersecurity in a sense, because obviously the lawmen are letting things out. So it all boils down to, does the public want to put their foot down or not?
Well, and that's the point. What's it like inside of Silicon Valley? People relate it to the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the Carnegies back in the old days. But what's it like driving down the street and seeing these incredible complexes. What's the sociology like about it?
Well, and it's kind of like being born into a wealthy family, so you don't know anything differently. And what comes with that is really no frame of reference. And so there's if you come into it and you see outrageous home values and you don't make a lot of money yourself, obviously you're not hanging out there. But there is nothing new to a type of bubble effect, and bubble effects do lead to left-wing politics. I mean, if you don't have a lot of life experience or you haven't started from the ground up on your own, if you haven't built it on your own, if you're sort of riding the wave instead of creating the wave, which happens a lot in Silicon Valley, then you don't really have a frame of reference, and you do things like voting certain ways to be nice because it sounds good. But you're not, your hands haven't really been in the grist yourself, so you have no frame of reference. So Silicon Valley is kind of, plastic.
Well, getting back to Mueller.
In a new age way. What? Huh?
Sure. So getting back to Mueller, by the way, our great friend, cybersecurity expert Michael Dougherty joining us on 107.5 FM, 580 AM with Kevin Miller in the morning. But back to Mueller, what do you make of all this? I have people in D.C. saying it's a much ado about nothing.
Well, look, creating confusion is part of their offense. And the whole thing is about diversion and grinding him. Of course, I can just in the sidelines and say what I think. I certainly don't know. But, I can connect the dots and tell you that, I certainly think there's a massive establishment. I don't think that's just on the left. I think those are people that are, bureaucrats. Bureaucrats are way outnumber Democrats and Republicans combined. And they have a lifestyle that's gone on in that town for a century. And Trump is a massive threat to that. And part of the offense is to create every diversion possible to slow down his being able to create change. The biggest thing that disturbs me is not what Mueller's doing, it's what he's not doing, because we haven't seen anyone that we all know have created vast injustices held accountable from the Obama administration, whether it be Holder, but specifically, Loretta Lynch, Brennan, Hillary Clinton, everyone there. So no matter what he does, he's going to have to answer as to why has he only got one eye open. And that's, to me, his ultimate problem. But because he only has one eye open. And the American public does not want one eye open justice.
Well, when you have the media, though, in your back pocket, and you have a lot of people that lack critical thinking skills, that's one-eyed justice seems to be pretty good.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it depends on the number of people like that. The media is a massive problem, and because it's like there is no media, and we can see there is no media. It's such a terrifying thing because an entire republic and democracy is going to depend on a press speaking truth to power. And the irony about the media right now is they pretend they're speaking truth to power, but they become like Pravda, where they are part of a power. And, it's terrifying. You just wonder, these people are so entitled, established, and, dug in. And what's what happens when people have their life, profession, and survival on the line? They'll do all sorts of terrible things to protect their position, and part of it is going along with that big machine. Because if they pull you off stage, you have no voice anymore. So that's how they leverage the media themselves. I mean, a lot of the big media people, they either play that game or they have no stage, period, at the end.
Michael Dougherty, if people want to check out your stage, what can they do?
Well, the book makes a great Christmas gift.
There we have it.
It's The Devil Inside the Beltway at Amazon, an audiobook, ebook, hardcover, and softcover, and thedevilinsidethebeltway.com.
The devil,
about all the government
thedevilinsidethebeltway.com.
Yes, sir.
Well, we appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
All right. Good talking to you.
All right, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Dan in Meridian, who's been extremely patient. Dan, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, Kevin. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
Yeah, boy, I was driving in this morning, and I don't know if you were taking a lot of heat or if people just hated Bush. But, you know, and everybody's got their opinions, but boy, mine of Bush is, I'm an older guy, but and I'm a retired Navy guy. Bush was a good guy. He was loyal. He was caring. Was he perfect? I don't know anybody perfect. And he was strong when he had to be. I remember the Dan Rather. But, you know, he was gracious about it. He said Rather. He put him in his place. He was gracious. And I know people, you know, Bush didn't get a second term. Ross Perot, he think he was upset because he paid for 20% of the vote, but he only got 19. You know, and
Right.
That's really the reason. You know, Clinton, when he was in there, you know, said whatever he needed to get elected. You remember he says, I promise I'll lower taxes. And then he came on the air crying, I just couldn't do it. But one thing I respected about Clinton, when he did lose the House, I think he's about the only president, when he actually lost, unlike Obama, he really worked with the House. And I don't know, first time I've ever seen a balanced budget. But,
Well, and
you know,
he was fortunate that Newt Gingrich wanted to
Right.
work with him. That was a great partnership. And I remember that State of the Union speech where Bill Clinton said, I got the message. And he did.
You know, he did. And for all of Clinton's faults, I put him up there as one of the better presidents working with Newt Gingrich. And Newt, you know, although people see Newt as a bull in a china store, very intelligent man. And, you know, they worked very well together, which is, it's like two different peas of a pod that did some good stuff.
Right.
You know, but McCain, you know, people call McCain a maverick. To me, it was all about McCain, you know, and it came up very true with the Obamacare vote. When it came down to it, he hated Trump more than he loved his country. To me, that was all out of spite. And it was about McCain. So I'm not a McCain guy at all. But
What would you say directly?
Bush,
What would you say directly to the people that have been very opinionated about President Bush? They disagreed with him politically, and they let me have it yesterday.
Boy, you know, you might not like Bush, and just like I'm a Republican, I'm very conservative. But you know, Clinton, you know, if you step back and look, he did a good job. But Bush, he was loyal, he was true, but he wasn't. You know, he did some things that you might not have liked. And to me, that says good things about a man. Because he's going to do things, even though you don't like him, if he thinks they're right. I mean, look at Reagan. People, you knew where Reagan stood. And by golly, he did things. And everybody's upset. Maybe the Iran-Contra, you know. Yeah, I don't know all what happened there. But helping people fight for their freedom, you know, Bush was a good guy, and he worked hard, and he didn't get reelected because he was doing his job. He says, I felt it was more important that I did my job than I go out and campaign. He didn't run his campaign right. That's where he faltered. And he probably wasn't as closely tied to domestic issues. That's where he faltered. People don't vote for you on what you did. They vote for you on the next problem you're going to solve, you know. And he did some great international, all the things going on. That where his strength was, you know, and he did great things on the international level. But but Clinton came in, you know, and touched our emotions, and Ross Perot grabbed 20% of the vote almost. I mean, you can't survive.
And remember, that was Ross
vote.
Perot after he had gotten out, because, and many people may not be familiar with this, what Dan's talking about, you had Ross Perot actually almost winning that election, and he bailed out, and then he saw that Clinton was going down to Bush, and he jumped right in. Remember when he was dancing to that song, I'm Crazy, with his daughter? He was, Ross Perot was crazy. But he had it in for Bush, and then he had it in for Dole, and who knows if there was ever a deal between Clinton and Perot the way that played out.
You know, that's the reason Bush lost, because think about it. Think of how close this election was and how tight it is. I mean, ever since Bush 43 won, it's been nothing but hate and discord, and it's been really total distress. And you hoped Obama would unify things. What a great opportunity he had. But he further divided things, and it was more chaos. But think how tight it is. And for somebody to come in and take 20% of the vote, there's no way you're going to win. When you take 20% of the Republican vote, that you're done. That Democrat doesn't even have to, do anything hardly. And that's what Clinton did. He just danced in on nothing.
Dan, we appreciate you listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you guys have a good day. And I got to go to work now, but I enjoy your show, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. On his way to work. And here we are. We continue remembering President George Herbert Walker Bush, and people are sounding off across the country. It's amazing, though, and it's not surprising that people are using the president's death to bash the current president.
Herbert Walker Bush.
There we have it from the beautiful Rotunda. You want to remind you, coming up, before he was a guest at the White House, he was a guest at the Miller House. Corey Lewandowski will be joining us coming up next hour. That's right. The former campaign manager of President Trump. We'll ask him how he went from a pugnacious young man in Lowell, Massachusetts, to one of the more powerful people in media.
The totalitarian era is passing. Its old ideas blown away like leaves from an ancient, lifeless tree. A new breeze is blowing, and a nation, refreshed by freedom, stands ready to push on. There's new ground to be broken.
More coming up next, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Another great political lion being laid to rest. Thank you for joining us, Ray Maya. Great job, as always. Let's get you to work safely and on time. All right. Back to your phone calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Sarah in Garden City. Good morning, Sarah. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Yes, y'all were talking about George Bush, and everybody's talking about how great he is and how sweet he was. But I remember in all of his speeches, he talks about the one world order, which is the deep state. So I would say he was more loyal to the deep state than any citizens of the United States. That's all I have to say.
Well, fair enough. Liberal Steve joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Buenos dias, senor. Hello, Idaho. And Sarah. President Bush was one of the best presidents in the history of the United States. He was leading us into a gentler, a kinder nation. And he was trying to destroy dictators across the world. Never did quite get to Kim yet, but he did a good job. He was a good man. Sincere, and he's authentic, and he was moral.
Well, this is crazy. You and I are agreeing.
And I voted for him.
Back to Sarah's point, we're not talking about the New World Order is not the deep state. I don't believe it was. Do you?
No, the deep state is who your guest, by the way, was an excellent guest. The guy that makes his money detecting cancer, Michael Dougherty, that wrote the book Inside the Devil Inside the Beltway. It should be the deep state inside the Beltway. But yeah, I don't agree with that at all, with what she said.
Well, thank you very much. Apparently you're not awake today, but we appreciate you listening.
Well, why would you make a statement like that? Now, you make me sad when you say things like that.
You got a little low energy there, brother. Just saying.
Well, I was just thinking, the cobwebs have been out for quite a while, but I'm thinking.
Well, that's a relief that you're thinking this morning.
I don't say mean things like that to your audience or to yourself.
No, you do say a lot of mean things to our
idiot.
audience. Wow.
Have a good day.
Thank you for listening. Take care, Liberal Steve. More of your phone calls coming up next. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And don't forget, coming up, Corey Lewandowski. That's right. Corey Lewandowski, former campaign manager to President Donald Trump, who has said, let Trump be Trump again and again and again, will be joining us, and one of the debates that we're having at 580-5436. 580-KIDO is remembering President Bush, and many of you are taking issue with me, saying Bush was no good.
I'm the one who will not raise taxes. My opponent now says he'll raise them as a last resort or a third resort. But when a politician talks like that, you know that's one resort he'll be checking into. And my opponent won't rule out raising taxes, but I will, and the Congress will push me to raise taxes, and I'll say no. And they'll push, and I'll say no. And they'll push again, and I'll say to them, read my lips. No new taxes.
Well, unfortunately, George Bush raised taxes. It was almost kind of like the original bait and switch, if you will. You know what I'm saying? The original bait and switch, and George Bush ended up raising taxes and causing quite a bit of concern, right? And then he wasn't elected. Amazing when you think about this. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I want to remind you, coming up tomorrow, we're going to be at Valley View High School, promoting our schools, securing our futures. Brought to you by CapEd Credit Union. We're going to move on. Let's go to Tom Munns, TomMunns.com. Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How you doing?
Living the dream, and you?
Nice, man. Well, I'm glad. I'm going to live vicariously through you then. So, it's kind of funny. You were playing some of those quotes earlier, and Bush said that we have no more dictators. It's kind of funny, and it's kind of ironic, and it's kind of inconsistent when he's saying that there's no more dictators, but yet we're going to forcefully impose ourselves in foreign governments. I find that interesting. And then he says, of course, he's not going to raise taxes, and then somebody or people all over, Twitter sphere or the radio or whatever are talking about how moral this guy is. So I guess lying is moral then if he raised taxes, and, advocating for war in an unconstitutional war is moral too. See, the problem is that a lot of us, we like to rely on opinions and we like to feel good stuff. Sometimes I wonder if the people on the radio really aren't conservatives, or I should ask what conservative really means.
But now you're attacking. Now you're attacking people on the radio.
Well, what I'm talking about is not necessarily attacking people. I'm talking about, look, if we're going to fix this country and it's got problems, the first problem that we have is in our election system, where we get really, really angry when people are inconsistent, but somehow we don't pull the plank out of our own eye and realize that mostly everything that a lot of what is talked about on the radio is inconsistent. You can't possibly straddle the line on both issues. And then, we talk about how Bush is this moral guy and all that, and he's an American and all that. And it's kind of funny because he's probably said the New World Order more than anybody else. We acknowledge the fact that he says it, but we speak of it as no consequence. If this country has no idea what or who the enemy is, how the heck are we going to fix it? And is it just a matter of opinion? Or when are we going to start listening to people that maybe have done their homework, like some of the people that we, have on the radio that we like to discredit? And so I think a lot of it really is...
Well, wait a minute. Let's get back to President Bush. He made a campaign promise. He broke it. He talked about a new world order. This was post-communism is what he was talking about.
Well, no,
I don't know. Look, he was a failed politician in one aspect. He didn't win re-election, but what makes him so bad?
Well, here's the thing, Kevin, is that most people in their own mind have no idea who the New World Order is. And unfortunately, part of my job is to be able to understand the intricacies and the foundations of the New World Order that grant it a little bit of credibility when we talk about it. Now, to be able to sit and say that the deep state doesn't exist or the deep state isn't, George Bush or the New World Order, there's nothing further from the truth. You take David Rockefeller in his book Memoirs. He talks about the fact that he is working against this country. There are thousands of quotes, and I'll compile them and I'll share them on the radio for you guys. Talk about the fact that the New World Order includes the one world government, the United Nations control to measure, monitor, and manipulate every American and everything they think, everything they eat, everything they feel, everything they see. I mean, it's 1984 on steroids, literally. And here's the thing. Until people start reading about it, I really find it irritating that people just have their own opinions about what they think it is without even looking at the issue for what it is.
You've totally confused me.
Well, we can't even define simple terms. Let me make it easier. We can't.
No. I mean, you've totally lost me. And I know people on my Facebook are saying that it was, that I just don't get the frequency. But Tom, I've got to run. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Tanya J. Powers joins us now. We apologize for getting to you a little late, but I just saw you on the screen. Good morning.
Oh, no problem. Good morning.
That was one of our more opinionated young men, Tom Munns. He's like the complete opposite of your friend, your buddy, the Tanya J. Powers' biggest fan, Liberal Steve. So you got a little listen there this morning of what we go through.
I always love listening to your show, Kevin.
Well, thankfully, you, my mom, and Mrs. Miller. So that's 3. So
See, we're the fan club. We've got jerseys and everything. It's great.
That's right. And here we go from that to remembering President Bush, which is amazing because we have so many people that have been calling in that have issues with President Bush, yet most of the country remembering what a true hero he was.
Yeah, there's been a really interesting. If you look at Twitter and social media, there's been a lot of stuff in the past 24 hours about that. It's sort of like there's this influx of, yes, there's a kind of I've seen it put a love fest going on right now, but there's also postings of articles that address other things he did that weren't so popular, or moves that he made that a lot of the population did not like. So it's you're kind of getting both of those. It's not just a all positive all the time sort of thing.
Right, and we go from remembering the 44th president to Stormy Daniels and her legal bills.
There's never a shortage of news stories. You know this as well as I do. It makes both of our jobs very interesting.
Yeah.
And this one is quite something because they were in court yesterday. Michael Avenatti actually had 2 different court appearances yesterday. One in the morning was to deal with the lawsuit regarding Keith Davidson, who is Stormy Daniels' former attorney, and Michael Cohen. You may remember all of that about representation of her, and then of course the hush money of the $130,000 that involved Cohen and the paying of that, and there's been exhaustive stories about that. The one in the afternoon was for Avenatti was where he was meeting up with President Trump's attorneys in court, and you remember that Stormy Daniels filed a defamation lawsuit over this tweet that the president had tweeted and called the whole thing a con job and all that. And that's when they filed a defamation lawsuit. Well, the judge ruled in favor of the president, saying, this was political, this was rhetoric, basically. He was just, this is things that are directed toward political foes, that sort of thing, and that it, I guess, fell under First Amendment rights. And the order has been made that they will pay the president's lawyer's fees. Well, the president's lawyer came in and said, well, we have a $390,000 legal bill for the president, and we also want an equal amount in sanctions. So it's nearly $800,000 in lawyer's fees and penalties that they're actually asking from Stormy Daniels. They say the sanctions would be a deterrent against people filing frivolous defamation cases against them.
Well, that's a lot of nights at the club.
It is a lot of money.
A lot of tip money.
The judge said it's not that the amount per hour, the firm's fees weren't. He said that's not unreasonable, but the 580 hours they spent on the case appeared to be excessive. So the judge has not ruled yet. We'll be keeping an eye on that to see what he finally does rule. Michael Avenatti says they're going to appeal the whole thing. So that's kind of where we are with it right now.
Indeed. Your favorite President Bush memory?
Probably when I covered him at a small event in Tennessee several years ago. At least probably maybe almost 10 years ago. And he got out of his car and actually came over. There was a small group of us, press waiting, and got out of his car and waved at us and was very, very nice to us. Didn't come over and give interviews or anything, but he was very, it wasn't just a ignore the press and walk into the building. He was like, hey, how you doing? I mean, he was very, seemed very friendly, very happy to see us almost, which is odd for a, figure like that, I guess, to welcome the press. But he didn't, shun us, didn't lob any insults our way. He just
I would have shunned you.
Nice. You would have shunned us?
I would have shunned you, yes. I would have shunned the press.
This just says volumes. When you're the president, I will fully expect that, Kevin.
Yes, one can only dream. Tanya J. Powers, thank you very much. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
And we go to Hank in Boise on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Hank.
Good morning. First point is on George Bush. When he came out and reneged on new taxes, we were standing in the 1990 congressional elections, a chance of winning the House or making big gains. Newt Gingrich was, if anybody was upset at that time about Bush's decision to renege on it, was Newt Gingrich. And we lost the opportunity there because of that, by taking the House over earlier. And the other thing I want to comment about is Tom Munn. The point is the left's power is based on the administrative state and the courts. And the only way you can change that is by a constitutional convention. And here we have the John Birchers and Tom Munns working hand in glove with George Soros, because Soros has spent a lot of money trying to defeat efforts to get a constitutional convention. And here's the John Birch Society and Tom Munn working hand in hand. I could just as easily accuse him of being a buddy boy to George Soros, because he's working with George Soros to defeat this. And that's what I'm talking about. The gang that can't shoot, they fought with the one bullet in the chamber. That has to be the John Birch Society and Tom Munns. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Thank you, Hank.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So we've got the allegations going back and forth at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And moments away from Corey Lewandowski. Corey Lewandowski, former campaign manager to President Trump, has another book out. We're so blessed that Mr. Lewandowski is going to join us. Thank you, Ray Amaya, for that one. And we'll see if he remembers the East Coast Millers that used to have him over all the time, and a very opinionated young man. So that is an exclusive that you'll only hear here on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. So, we were talking before about annexing the state of Oregon. And does anybody really believe that we should annex the state of Oregon? Do you like Oregon? I mean, Oregon has the coast, and look, if you're progressive, there's always, what is it called? Portland. Portlandia. Hey, I'd like to go to Portland, and Portland's great. And, as Lars Larson told us a couple days ago, actually yesterday, the home of Antifa. And we'll know that Boise has become Little Portland because, by the way, Mayor Beater says we're a welcoming city. When Antifa comes to town, maybe Antifa's here already. Who knows? But Oregon, thanks to a bunch of outside money from Spokane, flipped Ontario from no recreational marijuana to recreational marijuana. Now, according to The Sun, you're going to love this, Oregon could become the first state to legalize magic mushrooms. If those in favor of legalizing the psychedelic drug get enough signatures, it could go on a vote, the big vote in the 2020 general election. Oregon's Secretary of State approved the language needed for the ballot, which means those in favor of decriminalizing the psychedelic drug now need to get, just a little under 120,000 signatures. Now, I don't really know about magic mushrooms. I know about mushrooms on a steak, and that's about it. Mushrooms on a steak, that's limited. And I don't know what the shrooms do, but as I've said before, the pro-pot people, once they get in the medical marijuana, which we debate about all the time. Then, before long, it's the legal marijuana. And then, after that, it's the mushrooms. Now, as I said before, quite frankly, I think that we should annex most of Oregon, with the exceptions of the lib areas, like Portland. But Eastern Oregon, certainly Central Oregon, they share the values and beliefs, don't they, of us here in Idaho. But who in their right mind would ever think of this happening? And thank goodness, once again, that we live in Idaho, where we have people saying that the psychedelic mushrooms from the sun's propaganda could help reduce anxiety with people with cancer. Did you know that according to this research, psychedelic mushrooms could be used as treatment for anxiety, depression, and alcoholism? But aren't we just switching being hooked on the drugs to being hooked on the shrooms? Now you've got Tom and Sherry Eckert. They are the perpetrators of the petition. The intent of the 2020 Psychobilin Service Initiative of Oregon is to advance a breakthrough in therapeutic medicine currently being perfected in research settings at top universities around the world. So you're telling me that some of these places of higher learning, they're studying magic mushrooms. Again, thank goodness we live in Idaho, and instead of building that wall against the folks in California, maybe we should start looking at building that wall when it comes to Oregon. And by the way, if you live here, change your plates to Idaho plates. Have some respect for the state you're living in. 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time.
Larry Gebbert.
All right. Thank you very much. Good to have Larry in the slot here this morning. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, we're going to be at Valley View High School, promoting our schools, securing our future. Really appreciate Valley View having us there. It's been a while, and we look forward to that. Eagle High School this Friday. And don't forget, this Saturday, the Boise Real Estate Show, the Boise Real Estate Pros, they're there every Saturday from 7 to 8. Kurt Bauer from Sierra Pacific Mortgage and Jen Hickey from Epic Realty. They break down the latest moves, the tectonic shifts in the Treasure Valley real estate market. You want to know what's going on in real estate, not only in Boise, but throughout the Treasure Valley? Tune in to the Boise Real Estate Pros every Saturday from 7 to 8 with Kurt and Jen. I just love listening to it because then I'm figuring out what's going on here in the Treasure Valley. What's up next on 107.5 FM, 580 AM? Corey Lewandowski. I don't know how it's going to go. Last time we talked, it was a rather heated discussion, although I don't know if he remembers it. We'll remind him next. Stay with us.